the mass starvation of America may have already started. I will tell you why right now. I ask that you listen all the way to the end to avoid misinterpretation. Despite every indication to the contrary, the general public seems astounded at how rapidly prices are rising, and each passing day brings even more astonishing news since incidents of emergency and disaster are becoming a daily occurrence. There is a national crisis occurring, but we are completely unaware of it because we are constantly living in a state of acute suffering. And as a result, many Americans have learned to live with ever greater levels of financial suffering, and the authorities and elites are aware they can continue to facilitate the financial burden they themselves have imposed on all of us. The federal government is projecting that it will keep borrowing and spending trillions of dollars in addition to the outrageous levels of spending that have already occurred, and the Federal Reserve will keep printing increasing amounts of money and injecting it into the financial system. The aforementioned remarks demonstrate that many of our leaders are expressly contributing to our economic degradation and the decrease in our living standards. And if the majority of our population really understood what was going on, the streets would be packed with people demanding their rights at this very moment. Most people are not engaged, either because they are unsure what to do or because they are giving their energies to various issues outside of our national disaster. But no matter how successful farmers become, one thing that will upset and terrify millions of US families is the continuous rise of food prices. I suspect that, at worst, we'll see rising food prices that will show our crisis is no less severe. In order to meet the surging demand, commodity prices have skyrocketed since stimulus money has been poured into the market, but because of disruptions in supply shortages have arisen, and that, in turn, is resulting in the price of everything rising. It is an important illustration of it when we consider the price of corn. The price of corn, which is used to make corn ethanol, has risen more than 150% in the global market over the last year. In the grocery store, corn prices have already increased 50% over the year before, with the price of a bushel currently equal to 3 times the previous year's price. Since the 2013 outbreak, consumers have observed a rise in the price of corn, and corporations have been confident in passing these increases on to the consumer. As a result, people worry that rising prices will halt the current economic recovery. And if you are thinking that because you don't usually eat corn, you will not be affected, do not be mistaken. With corn approaching a record, US consumers will have to pay more for all sorts of products because corn is a main ingredient in the manufacturing of many items, including syrups, flour, pre-prepared meals, starch, oil, and even tortilla chips, chicken wings, bourbon, and Coca-Cola. About 40% of the corn crop is blended into motor fuel, so you will see higher prices at the grocery store as well as at the gas pump. People unwittingly pay for these hidden costs while simultaneously decreasing their food budget. Although 29 million people in the country face the prospect of hunger, there are 60 million others who have at least some food insecurity. These millions of families, whose grocery bills will be significantly higher as a result of food price inflation, will have less money to buy the food they need. An ominous sign of the times we're living in is that, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, roughly 81 million American citizens experienced food insecurity during the week before Christmas last year. For the purpose of understanding, I'll say that out of every 4 people in the so-called wealthiest country in the world, only one has access to enough nutritious food to enable a healthy, active life. Unfortunately, everything took a turn for the worse from that point onward. The current state of affairs doesn't look very bright either. Inflation has continued to make headlines, as it has been happening for many years now. People are scared because of traders and economists as well as the general public. It is a terrible time we're in, but the majority of Americans are unaware of the scope of the problems we're facing. We have now reached the initial stages of an inflationary collapse, and there are all sorts of warnings everywhere. It is clear to us now that we are marching inexorably towards a major economic catastrophe, and every day we only add to our own losses. Experts have long predicted that many of the dire issues they've warned about have already begun, but what we're seeing is just the beginning. There is another storm headed for us, and it will knock down everything in its path. We will see an immense economic overhaul as a result of this economic collapse. So there you have it. Thank you for listening, and click on my next video for even more interesting economic and financial news. Watch all of our videos. We take pride in bringing you the very best. I will see you in the next video.